Well, Mr. North, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super glad we were able to finally get an episode in. I know we were doing a little bit of back and forth and trying to schedule things, but I know you're very busy, so I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize for the back and forth and everything is, the problem is I don't own my schedule. So I'm
Yes.
trying to, make it work. And of course, like people, hey, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
I, I'm here.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate it so much. I actually have a lot of friends that are interested in this episode. I have a lot of friends in the Air Force, in the service, and they actually know you as like the helicopter stunt guy. My dad is also a manufacturer. He does a lot of CNC work for helicopters and the military. So
Okay,
this is a very exciting episode for me,
cool,
as well as my friends. So I'm glad we're finally doing this.
cool.
But
Thank you.
yeah. So if you had to explain, I guess, in to the audience, maybe someone who may not know exactly what you do, if you could like summarize it, what exactly would your position be?
So I have two, two jobs basically in one. Um, so I'm what people call an aerial coordinator. So you coordinate aerial sequence for movie stuff, and then I'm also a stunt pilot, and it's two in one because usually the stunt pilot is the one doing the filming or flying the helicopter that has been filmed in the story. And but the coordination is basically what happened 6 months before the event. So it's basically an aerial coordinator slash pilot. So that's what I do. So if somebody has a movie to do, like a Fast and Furious or whatever, Mission Impossible or whatever that is, and they have helicopter sequences, they're gonna ask a guy like me, an aerial coordinator, to see what's possible, not possible, what is, what type of helicopters do we need, and is the permit going to be okay? Like, let's say they want to do something over LA, downtown LA at midnight, then they don't know, what you can do. So then that's my job to let them know, if yes, we can shoot downtown LA, but it has to be we have to be done at 11 p.m. because of the noise ordinance and stuff like that. And then how low can you go? Then we can go at street level, but you need to control the public and blah blah. So my job is to basically explain to the production and producers and director what we can and we cannot do, and then then they send me the script. Then I look at it and then we tweak it to make it work. And then my job is also for the producers to give them a budget,
Right.
helicopters, permits, crew. And then when all that stuff is done, then we have to execute. And then at the end, I'm flying the helicopter, which is the easiest part
Right.
technically,
Right.
even if it doesn't look like it.
Right. And this is all just it sort of stems from this passion of aircrafts and flying. So I wanted to know, when did that start, that initial love? Because I know you've mentioned before in previous podcasts that you can recall when you were a kid seeing a big helicopter land for the first time, and you were amazed by. I think it was with one of your teachers, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
correct. Yeah, when I
So
was 8 years old. Yeah.
yeah. How is that love for aircrafts grown or changed over now taking it into the professional time? So, like, how has your relationship with your love for aircrafts changed and nurtured over your career?
So when I was 8 years old, that was the first time I saw a helicopter in my life. So I was living in Africa at the time. So for me, you have to understand there's no internet, there's no
Right.
nothing, right? So for us at the time to see a helicopter is like an alien out of space. Okay, it's like a Mad
Right.
Max. I mean, it's different than when you see it on internet today. And then you see one, oh yeah, it's a helicopter. For us, it's like, what is this? So that was a kind of a shock, in a good way. It's like that's amazing. So it stayed in the back of my mind. Yeah, I was 8 years old. Then fast forward, I am in the army in France at the time. You had to do some time in the service, and that's when I really saw helicopters in the mountains doing rescue. That's when everything came back from that young age, and that's when I thought this is amazing. If I can if I can be part of that, that would be sensational. But what I love about helicopters is not just the machine is unbelievable, but it's what you can do with it. Helicopters in general, they help people.
Right.
I mean, whatever a helicopter do is helping someone. You go in the mountains and then you bring food to the cabin, to the mountain cabin up there, or you're going to rescue someone, or you know what I mean, you check the fire, like in LA, or whatever we do, you do training, and like in my job I do entertainment. I entertain people through the helicopters. So I love that purpose. If it was just an aircraft on its own, I love the flying part, but the purpose is the mission. And in life, if we don't have a purpose, what do we have? So that's why I love that the helicopter is really something that is to help. Anything you do with it, you're gonna have a fun helping someone. So I love that part. So then after that, I kept going, and then I discovered the filming aspect of it.
Right. And that stunt pilot work actually wasn't initially available in Europe. You sort of had to craft your own path, if I'm not mistaken, in that. How was that? I guess you have to kind of like carve your own niche out of like, this is what I want to do. What inspired the actual stunt pilot aspect of it? Because you're talking about like helping other people, but when was it like, okay, I want to do like entertainment. I want to actually like show people like this is some really cool stuff.
Well, like you said, it was an evolution, because at the time in France there was no position as a film pilot. It didn't exist. If a director wanted to use a helicopter, it was to use anyone, any helicopter company, and then the pilot is in there. But then I did a lot of rally race, like the Barra, California, but in Europe and in Africa, for like the Paris Dakar rally. I don't know if you know that one, is the cross Africa, and a lot of different car rally like that we had back, organized by the French, like in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Morocco, and I did a lot of them, like 60 or 80, a lot of them. So while I was doing that part, filming by the helicopter, the cars, and covering that, I became more involved into the craft of filming with the helicopter, moving, fast-moving objects, I would say. And I did that for a few years. And then one day, there's a guy that contacted me from America when I was in France. And he told me, we're doing a film in Venezuela and we need a film pilot. And then I said, but okay, what is that? Like, he said, well, we have the helicopter, but we don't have the pilot. And then I said, but usually if you rent the helicopter, the pilot comes with it. He said, no, but in our business, no, we have a film pilot. He's a freelancer and he's coming and then he's flying the ship. And he said, the reason we're calling you is because we've seen, your work on the rally race. Even if you don't do movies, you have a French license, and the helicopter that we have in Venezuela is under a French registration. So the license has to go with the registration. And it was a temporary thing where that machine was sold and then was going to be changed. But it was in that time where the machine just arrived and then they needed a guy that had the license. So they contacted me and they said, would you go? I said, 100%, but who is going to pay me? Because usually it's the helicopter company that pay the pilot as a full-time employee. Then he said, no, we'll pay you daily. And we're talking about, it was 25 years ago. And at the time, he told me, we're going to give you $1,000 a day. You have to understand, at the time I was making maybe 2,500 a month. And he was telling me, we're going to give you $1,000 a day. I said, I'm in, you know.
Wow.
And it was not just about the money, but it was a shock in a sense. And that's when I realized that there is a job, in fact, but overseas, not in France. So I basically so I did the job and everything went really well. And I understood exactly what a film pilot was, which means the helicopter part is one thing, but the creativity, the craft,
Right.
how you position yourself and all that stuff was. And then I decided to duplicate that format from France. And that's what I did. I bought some equipment, some camera equipment. I did a website, which was fairly new at the time, and to launch that position from France all over the world, but not in the US at the time.
So the camera experience. Did you have experience with cameras outside of flying? Was that like a hobby of yours, like photography or filming, and you brought that into the job?
No, absolutely not. I was clueless on all the camera stuff. I didn't know anything. At the time, you have to understand, my dad had the black and white camera.
Right,
Like, I'm not kidding. I mean, it was just so click, click, the one of those, not like today, brr, it's
right,
like, so, but what happened is when I did the rally race, I started to be more involved with the cameras, but it was for TVs, for news and TVs, because the rally race, it's more like for the TV coverage. So it's got more the Sony, broadcast cameras, but I still, I was aware of lenses. So I went into more research, and I was interested to understand how the zoom it's working. So how like the where I should be versus the format. So I went into like a self, there was no YouTube. So it was a self,
right,
research on how I can do my job better if I was understanding what was between me and the car that we were filming. So it was a slow process. And when I did the film uh, work, then I understood that the difference between TV coverage, the TV news helicopter work, and then the film work is the TV work. You just need to explain and show what the situation is happening on the ground. So it's a
right,
self, like a car is going to be starting at the beginning of the day and then is going to end at the end of the day. So you need to get that, and get that. You don't really have to explain a situation with the helicopter, but in the film work, it's what you're going to be doing that will explain the storyline. So there's a big difference as far as the way we fly. Let me give you an example. If in the beginning of a film, if you see a car going from the airport because the person just landed and they want to show the guy going from the airport to the city, and then if they're telling me, Fred, you only have it's a 4 second shot. So then I need to find a way to show the airport, show the city in 4 seconds, and then go to the
right,
car. And the way I'm filming this is going to explain that story piece. They're also going to tell me the next cut after that shot will be them in the car talking. So I need to zoom in to a point to go to them. So in 4 seconds, we have to show the airport, show the city, and show the car and zoom in. So the way we fly cannot be 1,000 feet and then the camera does it. We need to move like, you
right,
know. So all that stuff is film. If it was TV, I will be at 1,000 feet up. I will zoom. I mean, I'll be wide on the airport. I'll zoom to the car and then show the city. Done. But that's not the way we do it for film. So that's why it took me a little while to understand that if I do a film work, I need to be more involved in the back of the story, the technical, the lenses, the what's the shot before mine, what's the shot after, what's the tempo. It's gonna be. Is it gonna be? Is it a fast shot? Is it like an action pounding beginning, or is it iconic? You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna be flying the same way if it's going to be a
right,
crazy move than if it's just somebody talking in a car. So
right,
you have to understand more. You cannot just say, "Oh, just tell me where to go." That doesn't work. You have
right.
to be in charge of the move when you do a film work, which is what interested me. You know.
So you mentioned that it is a very stark difference from the TV world into the film world in terms of how you move. Was that you said it took a lot of time to get comfortable? How long did it really take to get comfortable with like, okay, I can move in this vibe and I can match the director's vision? Like, did it take a couple of years of you kind of like flying in a different style for you to really get comfortable with it?
Me like 5 years. The truth is, it took me a long time, and even it's still a progress. Even as of today, I'm still adapting, trying to find new ways to understand the director's vision. It took me a little while to understand that a director um, is a leader, but he doesn't know how to communicate. It's very complex. A
Right,
director, he has the film in his head, okay? But we don't see that, okay? So we try to extract his vision, but a lot of them they have some hard time to explain. And then after that, even if they can explain you the story, they should not tell you the way you should do it. And a lot of
Right.
directors, they have a tendency to tell you how to do the scene because that's what they keep doing with the actors. But in my world, the director doesn't know what I can do with the helicopter. It doesn't know how fast or slow or high or I can fly. It doesn't know what the city will give me as a permit. So I'm always telling directors, just explain to me what's the end product, what's the story, what you want to show, what's important for you, but don't tell me how to do it. Because if he does, I'm going to be at 2 when I could be at 10,
Right.
because he's going to be self-limiting himself, because he's going to tell me, oh, Fred, I need you just to show that car going from the airport to the city. Then it's going to be a very boring shot. You go to the car, you go to the city. But then if he's telling me, technically in the story, the guy can't wait to go in the city. Like there is a girl over there that needs to go. So there's a rush, there's an emotional thing, peace. So then I'm going to fly super low above the airport. I'm going to get to the car. You know what I mean? I can create the emotion
Right.
with the flying part. So I need to understand that part so I can give it to the director. So it took me a few years to understand that I need to respectfully try to pull out of the director's head what he needs, you know. And it also took me a little while to understand that there's a big hierarchy in the movie business, like
Right.
the army. So a director has a position and he has a say. Then the first AD, the assistant director, So you have to respect every person, and at the same time you need to bring your own input. So that took me to like 10 years to understand the whole concept, but after 5 years I was more experienced to be able to give the director what they wanted.
Right. It's almost like they're trying to overcomplicate what they're trying to give you because they understand you're like a helicopter pilot. It's very complex. Whereas you'd rather just want to hear the feeling of the shot, and then you can process that in your own technical terms because they're not going to be able to match what up here. So it's like there's often that tug of war in that aspect. So you'd rather just know what's the feeling of the shot, and you just kind of like, okay, I got it.
Basically the helicopter doesn't exist anymore. That's
Right.
gone. Okay, that's my crap. Okay, that's gone.
Right.
So I'm always telling the director, forget the helicopter. You have a flying camera and let me move it to get what you need. So to understand what he needs, you need to have the script. You need to have the shot that, because when they're calling me, they may be halfway in the film,
Oh wow.
and yeah, I'm not coming in the sequence. I can come halfway, and then we're going to do a beginning piece that they didn't do, because let's say in the film they have 3 helicopter sequence, one at the beginning, one in the middle, one at the end. But I may do that in one day.
Right.
So I need to understand where they are, what they've shot. I usually ask them to show me what they shot before us, and what's going to be after. I'm asking them, is it going to be a dialogue on top of my footage? Is it music? Is it a 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds? Is it a credit? What is it? And then they're telling me all that stuff. So then I have a better idea. And also, each director has a style. Okay, Michael Bay, longer lens,
Right.
camera's movement, all that stuff. Sam Hargrave, wide lens, close proximity. Each director has a different way. So you need to watch 3 or 4 movies from that director before you even go into your homework, because you have to understand his style. He has one. So you need to have that in your heart. Like, I know exactly what the guy wants and what he likes. Then you take that and you put it into the story that he needs, you know, and then you'll be pretty close to what he has in his mind that you can't read, you know, and then it becomes really a team effort, because then you show him the first shot and they say, okay, that's great. Okay, so then, okay, do you think you can do this and do that? Yes, of course. And then now we're doing it together. But at the beginning, you need to bring that to him so he can see it. He can see what I
Right.
can do for him. So it's a little evolution.
Right. That's very interesting. It's almost like they have to see a base of like, okay, what's possible here, and then they can provide some input. Okay, now we can kind of like level up into this aspect. So, is there ever? I'm so curious because like there must be things, I myself make films. I know that not everything goes as planned. Has there ever been like whether it's an environmental change or like the wind or something on the day of shooting where like some things just weren't very possible, or you had to adapt your style to get a certain shot? Does that happen often where like there's weather involved, etc.?
Of course, yes. I mean, it's things come your way, and it's, in the movie
Right.
business, like they're always telling you, oh, it's been 80 years we've been in this village and we never had such wind that day,
Right, right.
but so you're always, oh, we never seen the fog in June, and then we never seen that in 100 years. And you okay, so my principle in that is I never say no to a director, because if you say no to a director, then how can he do his film?
Right.
What I do, I say, it's going to be very challenging to do this exactly the way you're describing, but I can offer this, or I can do this. Or if so let's say the wind is in the wrong direction, and it's always the wrong direction. So it's going to come from my back, from the tail. And then it's very complicated in a helicopter when you have to do a descent with a tailwind, because you enter in your own wind and then you're falling off the sky basically. And it's always like that. There's always a tailwind when you need to do something sketchy. So the
Right.
director, I'm not going to go to him and say, hey, the wind is in the wrong direction. I'm going to say, look, with this wind, it's a little bit tricky to do it that way. I won't be able to give you what you want. But if you want, I can come off to the side a little bit. Let me show you that what I can do today. And then let me know if that's something we can work on. So then I show it to him, and then I bring energy, I bring speed. And then usually they say, okay, that's amazing. Can you do this? Can you do that? And then we usually tweak it. But I don't like to say no, and then that's the end of the conversation. That's not
Right.
good. You
Right.
need to give the guy an option, because he needs to shoot his film. Of course, if it's like snowing like no tomorrow and then we grounded, he's not even gonna ask me. They know, I'm talking more something that is like in the movie we did a Rampage with Dwayne Johnson, and the director was Brad Payton. And we did that in Chicago, and it was in November, if I remember. And it was, it's a wind city for
Right.
there's a name for the city, so there's a reason for it. And we're flying between buildings at like 15 feet off the ground, buildings 1,000 feet up. And that day was 30 knots wind, which usually 25 knots is a max for me to go between buildings, because I get slammed and
Right.
pushed by a giant hand. So I remember having that conversation with the director, and the problem was each day we could only shoot between buildings on a Sunday, because the city will not give us the permission to do that on Monday, when it's busy. So each day was costing production $1 million. And I remember that morning, having the conversation with the director. I said, it's so windy, it's going to be challenging for us. But if you want, we can do the super low level stuff, like the 5 feet off the ground, but not the stuff at 300 feet coming down. So we figure it out, and then we did some stuff. We could not do everything, but we gave him solutions, and that's what the most important.
Right.
And almost on each sequence, we have to compose with the elements somehow.
I feel like that's very prevalent in like the Mission Impossible films too, right? Because everything's kind of a lot of times. What I hear about the films it's very chaotic in the production side of things. They're kind of like trying things out on set. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Did you feel that vibe when you were working on those films? Like this is kind of like, oh, let's try that. Let's try this, because I know the mountain stuff must have been crazy.
But I mean, bigger the film is, more organized they
Right.
are, because it's too many people. Like on one of the Bond movie I did, we were 700 people as a crew member in the second unit, not the first unit, the second unit, 700
Wow.
people. So you can change your mind in 2 seconds. So, but smaller project, 100% yes, I want to go left, I want to go right. And our job is to give them guidance
Right.
to not do that, because we can only excel and be good at it if we all have a protocol and we have a plan and we try to master the plan. So this is when the coordination is important. Ahead of it, we are telling them, hey, we have to stick to the plan. If you want, we can have 3 plans for that day, but each 3 plans have to be rehearsed, and we have to do it practical, and we have to follow the plan. Because in my business, if we don't follow the plan, safety is at
Right.
risk. So we're trying to really explain to them. I don't have a problem to move a little bit in the plan, but we cannot change the whole scene because that's usually when an accident happens. And I
Right.
can give you an example on the movie Ambulance that Michael Bay directed, and I think it just came out of on Netflix 2 days, 2 or 3 days ago. On that film, we were shooting downtown LA, and it was very complicated. There's a lot of wires everywhere, and to a point, Michael wanted us to land in an intersection downtown LA that was not planned. And you want to try to see if we can help him. So I went with the helicopter and I went above it, and there was so many wires, and they were telling me to land. On the radio, they said, land there, land there. And really, for me to land there, it would have been my tail rotor would have been 10 feet from the wire.
Right.
And there is like 300 people on the ground. They put pressure on you. Land, land. We need you to land. And then I said, I can't do it. There's no way I can do it. But if you want, I can pretend I can land, or I can land maybe 200 yards before, but not at that intersection. So then Michael said, sure, no problem. Land over there. So, and then we changed that. We landed 200 yards away, and then they moved their crew. So, it's just, you have to be, the no, but you offer an alternative, you know.
Right. It can't just be like, no, we're not doing this, period. Like, and then there's like, okay, well, then what? You know?
But
Right.
exactly. And, but at the same thing, you want to be safe. It's not easy. I have to say, it's not easy for me to say no and offer something else because I know it's not as good at what they're asking me to do. But to a point, you have a red line. But people don't always understand that it's not always black and white, even if safety is. But it's easy after the fact. When you're hovering and you see something, you say, can I do it to save a life? Yes. For a movie? No. But there's 300 people waiting, people put pressure. So you need to have enough experience and maturity to say, no, not a good idea. We haven't checked that place. We haven't scouted it on the ground. My team didn't check that. So it's a no, you know. But we can land there. It's a wider road. I can see it clearly good. And I can send my crew that can go. You have to follow the protocol basically, and then do it. But it takes a little bit to say no, you know.
Right. I think it's so fascinating because I feel like, when you're doing these jobs, you have to have such a level of control. And you've mentioned before that you fly barefoot. Is that correct? To sort of feel. Go ahead.
Happens. Yeah, it happens. So, I mean, I usually do it when it's really hot outside. And that's how it came because nobody will ever tell you to remove your shoes when you fly a helicopter.
Right.
But one day it was so hot, I was really dying with my socks and my shoes. So I removed the shoes. And just the feeling of the barefoot on the controls was amazing. The
Right.
connection with the machine was amazing. Have you driven a car without shoes on the
I
pedals?
have. Yes, I have.
It's super. It's completely
It
different.
feels more. Yeah, you can really put more.
Exactly. And if you drive a car with barefoot with a stick shift, it's even more better feeling because now you
Right.
have to. And I'm telling you. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to tell. What
No
if I
problem.
can't? And it's a huge difference. So then I discovered that, and I felt okay, that's amazing. So then I started to do it when I was doing some stunt work because I could basically fly with my toes instead of my foot
Yeah. Yeah.
because if you have a shoe, you know, so you can say okay, if you have a shoe, it's the whole shoe that is pressing the pedal.
Right.
But if you're barefoot, my toes, so I way more precise. And in the helicopter, the pedals that control the tail rotor, it's the only control that goes from the nose of the helicopter all the way to the back, to the end. So basically, all the vibration goes through that. It's really a control that gives you a lot of feedback. So I really like to do it when I do something a little bit tricky. Of course, I don't do it all the time, but it's something to experience. I'm telling every pilot if you have a chance, do it once because it's super super fun.
I
You know,
feel like, from an artistic standpoint too, though, like that's the closest you can come to the tool of the art form, right? Because it's like you're the most connected with the camera that way. It's like literally that is the connection.
No, that's a connection. And that's the thing, as a film pilot, you have to connect with your machine. And it's always a cliche when we say it, but to me, it's like you need to be one with the machine. And I know it's a cliche, but you can really be that. You have to transform yourself to the aircraft. If you think that you are controlling it, you're operating it, that's a problem. Do you ski in the mountains? Do you do ski?
I've skied before. I don't regularly ski, but I have skied before.
If you ski, it's the same thing, or driving a motorcycle. The machines, the ski should not exist. You become
Right.
the one, and then when you ski, then it's a dance. So when you fly helicopter, it's the same. If you are a detached entity controlling the aircraft, you're only going to be a B pilot. Okay. If you want to be really good at it, you have to become the machine, and you have to be blending in a sense. And for that, you have to give yourself the tools to achieve that. And to remove the shoes is one aspect. You can do it, and then you're more in contact with the aircraft. If you have light clothes, also help. Big shoes is hard. Like if you have like light sneakers, really helping. When you fly in the mountains, a lot of pilots, they have two pairs. They have a sneakers to do the flying, and they have a big mountain shoes that they put when they go off the helicopter when they land. Some pilots fly with the big shoes, but to me, it's hard because you're putting something in between you and the aircraft. Again, there is on the main control you have on the helicopter, it's called the cyclic. It's the main stick. There's a friction at the bottom, and a lot of pilots they keep that friction a little bit on, so it's harder to push. For me to connect with the machine, I lose that entirely, so it's
Mm,
completely soft. It's making it more difficult at the beginning because it's hard to control the aircraft because it's so loose on the
right.
control. But when you get used to it, then you fly with pressure move, not movement, because the helicopter is 2.5 tons. So, I mean, for the one I fly. So if I pressure on the control, I'm becoming a part of the movement instead of pushing like forward, and then there's 2.5 tons reacting to that. You're not going to be connecting if you have to push to a jerk movement. You're going
Right.
to be connecting if you become the machine, and then it's a pressure input versus a movement,
It's almost like hard rock versus slow jazz. It's like you got to be
Yeah,
careful and like a melody with it, right? Instead of
it's
like
exactly.
push push.
Yeah, and a lot of pilots, when I fly with them, I say, hey, go easy on the control. I don't want to see that control moving. I don't want to see the stick moving. The thing is invisible. If I see it like this, that means you do something wrong. Because 2.5 tons, when you do this, what is going to do?
Yeah.
This is not going to move. But if you put pressure and slowly you do something, then it's going to go to the left or it's going to go to the right. So you really want, as a fun pilot, try to blend in. But it works for
Right.
anything you do. You
I,
surf, you have to become your surfboard. When
right.
you begin, there is the surfboard and there is you. There is the horse and there is you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I
like me, I'm so bad at with horse. I'm telling you, there is the horse and that is
And
me.
it's
It's
you.
two different objects, like items. There is no way I can.
Right.
I try, but I'm a foreigner for that horse. So you know,
I can relate with you on two aspects in terms of like connecting with the machine. I remember first time my father taught me how to drive a stick shift in a 69 Camaro, and I had such trouble because at first he was telling me, match the RPM to like 3,000 RPM and then slowly let off and then push forward and then let off and it'll go. I couldn't understand it because I was trying to like time it so precisely and like I was like forcing it. And then he's like, close your eyes, lift your foot up, you'll feel it coming. And once I did that, it worked. I didn't even need my vision to be able to do it. And then once it was like that little cue that I needed. And I feel like for you, obviously not recommended, but you could probably land a helicopter without even looking, like because you just can feel the machine. You're one with the machine, right? It's
yeah. I mean
such a
that it's
powerful.
it's 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 basically the stick shift is a good example, but basically you have to forget the stick shift exists.
Right.
You have to become the car, and then the shifter will be so natural you don't even know that you're moving it, to a point.
Right.
At the beginning is like holy shit, like one and two,
Right.
like
And I'm looking
um
at the screen. I'm like,
right, which is so everything that is a distraction from the flying part, or for a car, doing the stick shift. The stick shift, it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, you're
Right.
driving the car, and that part doesn't exist anymore. When you get to that point, you're really connecting with the car that has a manual gearbox, and then that's when it's awesome. But any distraction between that effect to the other, it's the same for me in the helicopter. So at the beginning, I would say it takes 5 to 10 years as a pilot to get to that point. It takes a
Right.
while.
Right.
At the beginning, you're really a foreigner in there. you
Right.
know you don't even have a visa, you don't have a green card, you don't have you're a foreigner. And slowly you get your little visa, you get your green card, then you get your passport. Now you're connecting with the machine. I mean, it really, for me, it was at least, I would say, 10 years, you know
Right.
to really have that feeling,
I mean, I say the same thing about like my camera operation too, though. Like, cause I'm so familiar with the camera. Like, I am now seeing through the camera when I'm using it. There's no barrier anymore. It's like I am one with the camera. What I'm looking at
Yeah,
is my eyesight, and I'm like panning the camera, like if I'm
it's the
doing
same.
right.
That's why, to me, it's the same thing. It's not because an helicopter is a big machine, but if you fly a 747, a Boeing 747, I'm sure the captain, he's the plane,
Right.
So I think that's the difference between an expert that is an A plus in his field and a B minus or a B guy. Because if you become what you operating, now you are a top of the line. It's an art. And to me, it's very important that the young people out there, they understand they have to master craft and expertise one thing. They have to master one thing to
Right.
be able to do this. And I'm telling my kids, I have 3 kids and 2 boys, they're 21 and 19. And I'm telling them, whatever you're going to be doing, you have really to become. So one of my kids is a polo player, a professional polo player,
Oh, nice.
and he's flying that horse. I'm not kidding. The horse is, or the motorcycle, even go, he's drifting with a horse. Like, I'll be dead, like 100%, you know. And I can tell he's connecting with a horse. He's one with a horse, and that's why I know he can be extremely good at that sport. You
What
know.
is it? What do you think it takes though? Because I like what you're saying. That a lot of people also. I'm 22. A lot of people that do what I do. I'm a filmmaker. They like to rush and they like to just. They want to see the result, or they want to do a million things. Like, I want to master the camera. You want to master the helicopter. What is that? Is that a mindset change that people need to make, or is it like it's just a time thing too? Right? You just have to set the expectation of like this is going to take a long time, and I need to focus in order to master a certain craft.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mindset, but it also the homework you put in it.
Right.
It takes time for the brain to basically have the camera disappear. Like, you are the camera, okay? You are the camera. The camera is only an extension of your body, basically.
Right.
So I guess, but it's still a mindset, because for me, it took me a while to understand the concept. I only discovered the concept, like, oh wow, so indeed,
Right.
I, because it sounds cliche when you say, oh, I'm connecting with the machine and I'm one with the machine. It's so much a cliche that it's stupid when you say it. But one day I was, I think somebody must have told me, you're Fred, you're just a helicopter. So it just boom. And I said
Right.
that that's kind of true. If you don't want to sound arrogant saying it, but one day I basically became the machine. You know what I mean? But if I would have known that concept before, I could have obtained that result way before than
Right.
what I did, because I didn't know it existed. You know.
Right. I feel like also for you, you're flying very close to objects and landscapes. You can probably tell like where your tail is, like it's as if it's like your back, or like your
Exactly.
arm is like the side, like that depth perception of like how
Yeah.
far away is that really, and that's why you can get so close to things because you're familiar with the machine.
No, you're right. The surrounding is my helicopter is me. So even if in my job, you have to be so careful, because one mistake and you're down. But as a
Right.
person, if you can jump, like, I can ask you to jump on a wall that is this size, and you're going to jump on it. How do you know that you can land it? You just know. So
Right.
it's that, so you have to become this with the camera. And then when you are at that level, then you top of the line, like,
Right.
you A plus, and that's, I think, as a young, person that want to do something really good, that's what it is. When you get
Right.
to that point, that means, because that means you have done your homework. That means the technical of that camera. You know what you can do with it, because you don't have to look what, you know the zoom, the focus,
Right.
everything. You know when there is a backlight and there's a flare. You don't want that, or well, you want that, and then you know what to do. You don't even think about it. That just blend in, and
Right.
that's when you become really good at it, and then people can see that. and
Right.
and in Hollywood, when you work with the big directors out there, they see that, like, crystal clear. Like Michael
Right.
Bay, for example. People say, oh, Michael doesn't fly with me in the helicopter. He sees me flying with a camera ship, and he said, you got the shot, right? You got it. He knows from the ground by seeing me doing it.
Right.
He doesn't have an image. We don't send him the video image. He just know. Those
Right.
guys are a master of their craft. They know, you
Right.
know.
I think even, applying to like cinematography, like you were saying, like the lighting, you kind of know what it's gonna do. For me, I always used to be so concerned about, like, I used to make it like a math equation, the lighting. I used to make diagrams, and I'm like, what if I do this and this, and what if the light's not always there? Now I'm like,
Too
I've done it so
technical.
many,
Yeah.
yeah, I've done it so many times, and like cinematography is a very technical thing. I understand, like, ratios, but now I'm so comfortable where, like, I have the confidence I could walk into any room and light it how, like, I'll just know, because you
You just know.
understand, you're one with the light. You can tell
Yeah.
where the light is, what it's doing. Okay, we have a white wall. Okay, it's gonna bounce. We have this here. Like, it's such a relief now. Like, just calm that you understand it. Once you're one with the craft, you can just go into any scenario, such as yourself with flying. You just know. You just
You just
understand it.
know. But you have to do the technical homework
Right.
before. Okay, the technical, like, I had to do my license, I had to do my learning, and even as of today, I'm still learning stuff.
Right.
But you have to do your technical stuff before, and then at the same time, and then to a point, the technical aspect goes smaller, smaller, and smaller. Sorry.
No problem.
Let me tell my wife that I call her later. I'm back with you. Let me
Yes.
put the camera. Yeah. So you do the technical is massive at the beginning. You have to learn so much, and then more you're connecting with the machine, or the smaller the technical is, smaller it's so small that you just know,
Right.
you know. So, and that's for anything you do in life.
Right.
Driving a motorcycle, Formula One racing, whatever you do, at the beginning, you have to be so much into the technique, because lack of experience, you have to be in the numbers. So how far the actor has to be, so my focus is right.
Right.
Oh, at the beginning, it's like, oh, 32 feet, I need to measure. And then
Right.
at the end,
Right.
it's like, zoop, zoop, zoop. It is.
Right.
So yeah, it's experience, but it's good to understand the concept so you can improve faster.
Do you ever feel like, because a big part of the job, I mean, for me, at least just looking at your flying, is a fear factor to it. I mean, I must understand that you must have some sort of fear that sort of guides you to be safe about your flying. I'm sure you're not a fearful pilot, but there must be some aspect of fear that helps drive your work, right?
No, for sure, 100%. In fact, it's a heavy backpack that I have on my shoulder, because I do have fear. Usually I have fear before
Right.
and sometime after, not when I'm doing it. The fear, of course, drive a lot of stuff, but for me, what's driving me the most as far as the safety, I have my own fear, but it's more, I'm responsible for the person that are on board with me, and I'm always envision, if there is a crash and somebody die next to me, a stunt guy, whatever, and then I see his wife at his funeral, and his wife's eyes looking to me, like I'm the one that, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that is harsh. So to me, I do everything I can to protect the person on board, and then to protect the person on the ground. And that's a lot of weight to carry, especially in my business, because it's hard what people ask me to do.
Right.
It's challenging. So this is why we rehearse 50 times, we make plans and we don't deviate from plans. We put something into motion that everyone approve. My team, myself, the assistant director, the stunt coordinator, the producer, the director, the actors, everybody approve the plan, and then we don't deviate. We do
Right.
exactly that because we have to be safe. But the fear sometimes is like I'm telling my wife, it's really it's heavy, like it's there. So for sure, it's not for everyone because you need to be able to carry that weight for the direction of your life. Sometimes I'm wishing that I do something easy, but it's not what I'm doing. So it is what it
Mm.
is.
But
Yeah.
you're saying that you don't feel it in the middle when you're actually doing it. You enter almost like a flow state when you're actually flying.
I'm just dedicated to the task. So
Right.
there is no distraction.
Right.
So I'm just focused. So that's why it's good to have a plan because I can just rehearse the plan in my head. So everything we've been doing, you have to be on it. And I can give you a quick example.
Yep.
When I do like flying like super close to buildings, like on a street level, like a downtown LA, whatever that is, and I can be 3 feet above the ground, and maybe I have 5 feet on each side of the blade, so I'm squeezed. Okay,
Wow.
there's wires, there's wall, there's wind, and I have to act the helicopter in the sequence. So usually to make sure that I can stay where I'm supposed to, I put tape on the road, like in red or blue, and that's what I follow. So let's say there's a tree, and if I was going straight, my blade will touch the tree. So then the tape will go left a little bit.
Oh.
So I will not look at the tree. I will just follow my marking. Okay, on those. And sometimes we don't put tape, we put cones. Okay, a little cones. And then before we do it, I see all the cones lined up and everything is being measured and everything. And the stretch is maybe, let's say, 400 yards. And then they send a water truck with hose on each side that is supposed to wet down the road so it looks better for the light, okay, to kick the light.
Right.
When the guy does that, it happens to me before, the water hose push the cones, all the cones,
Oh no.
3 feet, 3 feet, and because the pressure is steady and the guy goes straight, all the cones being pushed 3 feet on the left. Okay. If you don't have someone in your protocol that is dedicated to those cones and his job is to make sure those cones are at the right place. So I have to be focused because I'm telling you that because I noticed it one day and the guy was pushing all the cones. I said, dude,
Wow.
if I follow the cones, I'm going to go into the wall. You
Right.
know, so it's just an example, but there's a billion of details like that.
So,
And
uh,
so that's I put myself in a zone and I stick
right.
to it. You know,
Are you so you're basically when you're looking at the cones, are you aligning a part of your helicopter with the cone mentally? You're like, okay, this is like my guiding line, like the rail is going to be in line with this, or you kind of
yeah,
is it on both sides the cones, or is it just on one side of
no,
the
just in the
it's on
middle, just in the middle.
oh, just in the middle. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I cannot do this. If I do
Right.
this, I may move. So it's like, when if you stay in your 1 foot, you do yoga, one
Right.
foot. If you try to look left and right, usually you fall. I
Right.
mean, I fall unless you like you 22 brand new machine. But if you know what I mean, if you go 1 foot
Yes.
and then you have to like a challenge for balance,
Right.
and then if I'm focused, I can stay like a statue. But if I start to do this and I do that, then usually I lose my balance. So
Right.
in the helicopter, it's the same principle. I have to stay 12 o'clock. I follow my cones, and that's the only thing, or my tape. That's the only thing that I look at. That's it. So if
Right.
the cone is misplaced, I'm gonna hit the tree because I'm not looking off to the side.
So I feel like there must be some sort of technology, or maybe it's coming, where like you can wear like a glasses and you could see like a display of like your path. Is that like is there any technology like that?
No, because the
No.
problem is as soon as you put a screen, you're losing the depth of field.
Right. Right.
Okay, so that's why drone pilots have a hard time to do something. Like you see a lot of drone shots where they go in crazy little holes and stuff. But
Yes.
what they do a run that they choose. Okay, they rehearse it and then they go where they feel it's okay. But if you ask them to do something different where they have to do what I want them to do, and then they need a depth of field, it's harder for them to be on goggles. They have to be because they're too far or something like that. But it's a very complex and challenging job for those guys because the screen is one flat screen.
Right.
There's no depth of field. Like I'm looking at you right now. Okay, you are against a green screen,
Yeah.
but it looks like it's the screen is you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but it's hard to see that there is depth. Like I
Right.
don't
How
know how
much is
many feet.
behind me? Right.
I have no clue how far
Yeah.
is that thing behind you. So
Right.
when you fly helicopter, you need to assess that the depth, and a screen doesn't give you this.
Right.
With and I don't know if one day we'll have the depth, but so far not happening.
Have you
So
seen a because I know the drones are popular now. Have you seen like a decline or a change in your work? Like, are you seeing more productions do drones instead of like actual
I
pilots?
mean, so the only thing that the drone took away from us, as far, I mean, I'm talking for me because everybody's a bit
Yes.
different. It's more the commercial, the 1 day commercial that we were doing to get a 2 second shot, a 1 second and a half shot. So they
Right.
use drones for that because it's most of the time it's a position, it's a vertical one, it's straight down. We don't really have time on a car commercial to do more than 1.5 seconds because they have 10 cameras and there's different sequence. So that's why the drones usually take our job. Now, in the movie business, in the high end movie business, not really, because I'm usually flying lower than the drones,
Right.
just because what we do is art, which means I'm going to see the car, but then I see a tree, and then I see there's a rainbow over there. If you're a drone pilot, you're on the ground, you don't see the rainbow, you don't see when the car is going to go. Me, I see it from the sky with my own eyes. The camera can be zooming in on the car, but I can
Right.
see the monitor. I see the monitor with the car, but I see everything. So then when I see everything, I say, okay, now I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait. Now I go. When you're a drone pilot and you have your goggles, you have to go with a car. Yeah, I mean, if the car goes off the screen, how are you going to find the car?
Right.
Or you have to be so wide. So that doesn't take our job. We still have to do everything in action. We do.
Right.
The drone can be higher and then tell the story, but with the helicopter and the camera, we create the story with the movement. you know
Right.
there's also stuff with the drone is hard for them. They have a problem with spatial orientation. So let's say, to make it simple, if I put one pole in the middle of a huge field and I'm asking the drone to go super fast towards the pole, and I want him to fly 3 feet behind the pole and come back to me, how is he going to know when he can go around the pole?
Right.
Okay, spatial orientation is tough. So you need to put one guy on a profile. They're going to tell the guy, clear, now you can turn. But by the time the guy say clear, he already passed the pole. Now it's going to be a boring shot because now he's going to be further away. By the time he comes back towards the pole, he's too far. It needs the pilot needs to see the pole and assess his own speed. And
As
this is
it's
what I
coming in.
see
Yeah.
right as it's
Right.
coming in. So it's not easy for drone guys to do those kind of shots. With a helicopter, I see the pole, I'm managing my speed, I'm coming super close, and then I'm 3 feet from it, and then I come back. But that's an easy thing. Usually there's a car or there's a guy, there's a thing, there's a train. So helicopters have their own purpose for it, and drones have their own purpose.
Right.
Both are not getting the same story. So it
Right.
depends what you need. Yeah.
I've had some bad experiences with spatial awareness with drones. I did a gig where I had to film like a pool for backyard. My friend has a company where he does pools, and the drones, they have the sensors on them now, so they could detect if there's like a branch, but they're not perfect. So my drone got stuck in the tree because I
Yeah.
couldn't see, like, I'm on the ground, I can't see what's behind it, how close,
No, of course,
you
of
know?
course. So that's why I'm saying the spatial orientation is a tough one. The depth of field is a tough one. The other problem is they only have 7 or 8 minutes of battery, which means they cannot have a lot of time to rehearse. Like
Right.
I will rehearse for 45 minutes and then I'll do the shot. So I'm warm up.
Wow.
Drones have to land back down and it's cutting the momentum, you know? So you it's not easy, those drone guys, I always have a lot of respect for them because first of all, they're just standing 10 hours a day with that stuff, you
Right.
know. And usually people say, oh, bring the drone guys. It's not bring Fred or bring Tony,
Right.
bring the drone guys. So it's not like a very personal stuff. I know it's to me it's not an easy job. Really, look, I don't want it, but I
Right.
really admire those guys. But I think it's an amazing tool. But you have to use it for what it's been designed for.
Right.
It's not going to be replacing a helicopter. You can be high and not too fast, and then get something. But then for me, it's boring.
Right.
So to me, everything has a purpose. So you need to define that and then use it for what it's been designed for.
Right. Yeah, I think the drone they have their place for like the smaller stuff. I feel like just not when it comes to the
This,
big.
the small, the bigger the space, harder it is for the drone. Let's
Right.
put it that way.
Right.
The smaller the space, then it's better for them. They have no speed. Like I can go at 150 miles an hour, super comfortable. I can talk someone, and then I can do the move. A drone, can go fast quickly, but then he's limited to like 60 miles an hour. And then the problem is if I'm asking him to climb, then it's stopped. He
Right.
doesn't have the power to go 100 miles an hour on a climbing slope. Doesn't have the power for that. And the other problem with the drone also is the way it's built. You have the blades and you have the camera hanging. So if you super low and you go fast, the drone is going a little bit of an angle and the camera is like this. So
Right.
now you're gonna see the blades in the frame.
Right.
And it's the same sideways. So most of the drones they're good when they're higher. If they're super low, they have to be on a little bit longer lens so you don't see the blades. But sometimes you want to be wide and close. You don't want to be on a longer lens. So you have limitations.
Right.
Also, drones have usually they're multi rotors. They have 4 or 6 or 8 rotors, which means they're not like us in a helicopter. In a helicopter is one rotor and it's a pendulum effect. I take a turn, there's a pendulum. The drone is flat. It doesn't turn this way. It's drifting.
Mm.
So if you ask a drone to do like a very tight turn, has to be
Yeah.
a small drones where it's going to do this. But
Right.
if you take the movie drones that are 6 feet wide, those guys they can't do that. They'll fall off the sky. Like they have to drift. So it's you have to do what you can with your machine basically. But if
Right.
you try to replace a 1,000 horsepower helicopter with human being on board and everything with 3 hours of range, it's going to be a tough one.
Right.
You
Because
know,
your camera's here on the bottom, right, of the helicopter most of the
it's
time.
on
It's
the
like
nose. It's on the nose bottom,
correct. All
nose
right.
lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that it won't involve the rotor in it. It'll kind of be
No,
in the front.
no, it will only see it if I go on a dive and then I look up. But in general, I will only do that if there is a car and I'll give a 3 count and the car will go super fast. In that case, I'm the one to give the count and I will say 3, 2, 1, I'll be moving. And when he goes, I'm not getting that dump, like
Right.
the tilt down. But yeah, we usually don't see the blade in the frame.
So,
Yeah.
so, so you're pacing these movements, right? It's on you. Like you're the kind of the time,
Yeah.
like where okay, are you communicating during your flight? Yeah, you are with like all the
Yeah,
other
I
people. You're
am.
like, okay, 3 seconds, two
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah, there's a ground pilot that has the VHF, the radio. He's next to the director, and he has a frame. He can see what we're filming, and
Right.
then we're the one to give the cue to the stunt driver for any explosion. For example, we're the one to give the count. Sometimes they want us to give a 5 count. The longer the count is, harder it is for me because I need to be precise to the half a second. So a 5 count, then I had to manage that 5 counts. I'd rather give a
Right.
3 count and 3, 2. I'm starting to move at 5, and then at 3, I'm already on the go because I need to be. Usually, I don't like to shoot like an explosion on a hover. I want to be moving. So it's always a tricky thing because I want to be close, but not
Right.
too close.
Right.
So yeah, we give the count.
What is that? I mean, even you just mentioning explosions too, like flying and capturing those. What would you describe just the general like just feeling of doing these like insane stunts? Like what is it that you feel when you're in that? Is it like a feeling of weightlessness? Like what is it? Is it this flow? Like what are you feeling?
I mean, so, we have such a heavy plan in place. It's a bit more like you do a mission with the army
Hmm.
because it's there's 300 people. Everybody has a job. and you have to wait for the sequence of those jobs to happen for you to do yours. So you are into the organized chaos that is not a chaos, but it looks like it's a shit show, but it's not. Okay. So you have to do your part. And everybody's expecting you to do your part. So you have to watch and see, and then you have to be ready. And that, you so much into the situation that there's no place for, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
feeling
yeah,
it.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
no, you are on it, and you have to perform the way people expect you to perform. So I'm just 1,000% on my task, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to do that. I'm going to do that. Even if there is a dance, I'm trying my dance to be very organic, and very, so there's no surprise for no one. Even if I always add a little spice to it, but it's in the flow of the plan, you know.
It's almost like the people on set are living different sort of like lives at the moment. Like you're like focused, like this is a mission versus like let's say a director where they're thinking and brainstorming, or like the camera opera, they're thinking more creatively. Whereas like you are kind of like you have a plan and you're just there to commit to the plan, right?
Yeah, and it's his job to be loose. It's his job to be crazy. It's his job to ask for any stupid things. Uh, on on
Right.
one um, on one movie, the director, we were scouting on the ground, and there was that street, and I'm not kidding. It was almost like an alley. Okay, it was maybe 15 feet wide.
Wow.
Okay, my helicopter is like 35 feet wide. He knows my helicopter. He's been with me a billion times. There is 300 people on that street walking. And then the director said, Fred, so can you fly in there? It's like I'm asking you to drive a car to a door,
Yeah.
through a door. But he's asking me why? Because he's so much into his zone that he lost completely sense of reality. He's only looking at his shot. So it took me a little moment to understand that he's not asking me a stupid question. He's asking me something that in his vision could be cool. And I told him, I said, so I don't want to make him look like he's an idiot because he's asking
Right.
me.
Right.
Everybody knows is a stupid question, okay? But nobody says a word. And at the beginning of my career, I would have tell the guy, "Are you a fucking idiot? Do you think I can find there?" You know. Now it's like, okay, so it's gonna be a little bit tight for me in here, but there's another street on the next block that is way better, and I think will give you the same sense. Do you mind we go walk there and check? Okay, great. Then we go, and then that street I can fit, and then okay, love that. Dumb. But it took me years and years and years to get to that, you know.
Right. It's like you learn like
So
this learned patience of like, okay,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
Especially as French, because French people, we have a tendency to judge, we have a tendency to open our mouth. So I learned the American way, go
Right,
cool, and then
right.
anyway.
I guess to wrap this up in a bow, what would be like something that for you working as a stunt pilot in or a film pilot in this industry, what has it given you aside from like all the crazy shots, aside from all of the flight experience? What has it given your soul?
So what I love about that job is I can see my work on screen, because a lot of stuff we do in life, you don't really have anything to show friends. Yeah, if you have someone filming you when you're surfing, because I love surfing and I surf, but usually when you get the best fucking wave, there is no one there to capture that unless your name is Kelly Slater, which
Right.
I'm not. So the love of the film aspect of it is we do all that stuff. It's gonna be there for decades. Like I'll be dead. My kids can see the stuff I've been doing. The kids of the kids. I think it's amazing to be able to watch his work, his team effort, everything we put, our soul, our sweat, our fear, the risk we're taking, and everything is on the screen. And it's an amazing sequence. We're proud of it. And that's to me what I love the most about this job.
I love that answer. I think yeah, it's like it stands the test of time and shows
Yeah,
like your mark on the world.
Yeah, exactly. And it's for entertainment, which is a very prestigious thing, I think, to make people happy. And this is why, just one little thing for the people watching this, I'm always trying to, like, if you do a helicopter shot, I don't want for the people to know it's from a helicopter. I don't want anything that the audience is getting cut from the story. This is why I hate when there's a drone shot that is moving so much, that is a roller coaster. And to me, it's detaching you from the story. Now it becomes an effect. I don't want an effect. I want the whole thing to be seamless. Um,
Right.
so that's important, because when you have a camera, it's the same thing. You don't want people to know it's a camera. We need to forget it. You have to be immersed into the story. It's very important for me that when I fly the helicopter, that is, it's in a subtle way for the camera, so people don't know it's a helicopter. They immerse into the story. That's
Right.
just something
It's, it,
important.
it's all about the audience experience, right? Yeah, I love that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Love it. Well, Fred, thank you so much for your time tonight. This has
You're
been such a
welcome.
great episode.
My pleasure, and thank you. But I was late. I was
No
in,
problem.
I forgot. So I need to take my Alzheimer pills. But it was a pleasure. You asked me great questions, and if you want to do another one day, I'm here. No problem.
Great. I'd love to do one in the future as we both grow in our careers. I'd love to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, good,
Awesome.
Tony. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.